Hello and welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. We have reached episode 814. This is being recorded on March 12, 2025. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hallstrom.
Thank you.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Brett Van Spremberg.
No, it wasn't paused.
And I'm Kent Burgess.
You can find out how to support PC Perspective and all that we do here, which is much, by going to patreon.com, which makes sense because that's their website. But then use the /PCPer because then you'll get to our special Patreon page where you can sprinkle largesse upon us and beg us to continue and maybe even make requests. Use funny names. Sure. Force us to read them out loud on the podcast and make fools of all of us. Mm-hmm. Please, no profanity. Actually, use all the profanity you want if Patreon allows you to, but we'll just have to sort of censor it on the show. When I call Brett an live on stream, just because you told me to.
It happens. It happens.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't make. I'm being forced. It's on my screen right here. It says that I have to call. No, it doesn't say that.
No, it doesn't. No, but you did feel it though.
Yes, I did. Brett, do we have any Patreon updates?
You know, I'm just going to go back to the recently joined crew of Tumbril, Turnbull, and Divine, simply because it just has such a lawyerly feel to it. It just feels like, thank you for calling, Tumbril, Tumble, and Divine. I'm going to stumble over that. Oh, and Sean. I didn't want to leave Sean out. Sean, I think, also works at Tumbril, Tumble, and Divine. Probably as an actuary.
Not a full partner yet?
He's working.
Well, you know what? He jumped in as an intern and worked his way up.
He's working his way up. I mean, he started at mailroom, but there's room to move in the mailroom. But he's up to actuary now.
They're an equal opportunity litigator.
Yeah. Yep. Tumbril, Tumble, and Divine, they have room to move, and they're willing to allow new people to make partner.
And Sebastian's ignoring us.
Josh, I think it's time for the most important segment of the week, don't you?
Only if you want to be depressed. I've been sick for the last couple of days, and then also my sense of taste has not gone back to what it was before the dentist impaled my facial nerve.
Oh,
and
still, Josh?
Numbed this entire half, and also there's an area where I just can't taste correctly, and so my whole palate is jacked up still. It could be a couple of weeks, it could be forever. I don't know. She did a number on me. Maybe I should sue. I don't know. Maybe I'll lose weight. Maybe that would just be, that's the next $1 million idea. Nerve damage to your mouth will cause you to lose weight. It's better than Ozempic.
Can't taste the calories? They don't count?
Yeah, something like that. You just don't care. Gavin is saying that I have Mac the Knife teeth. I'm not going to sing it. But anyway, I, having gone over my mouth things, I decided to just go down to Born in a Barn again, get a burger, get the Cowboy Joe. I had previously good experiences with the Cowboy Joe. Two things. One, they changed the fries, and they were really soggy. Two, they changed the fries seasoning. Not nearly as good, but less salty. So 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. Anyway, that may be kind of the saddest looking burger I've seen in a long time. Cowboy Joe has candied jalapenos and sriracha sauce and American cheese and all beef patty, and it just.
I like how one
really
of the jalapenos is just like sticking out the side there, like a little.
Yeah, it's trying to escape the hell that it found itself in. It just, it was so disappointing. I ate 3/4 of it and I was just done. And plus they did make it a little bit more raw than I like. So that was, it was a thin patty. When you still got, pretty good chunk of red throughout the center, it you just think, am I going to wake up tomorrow with some loose stools? I don't know. But
wonderful.
It just
follow Josh on Twitter to find out.
Yeah. Live posting now from the small room.
This tweet is worthless without pictures. Would be the comment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, no. Anyway, it was kind of a disappointing burger. And usually, I come onto the show just still absolutely stuffed, but I didn't even eat it all. And the fries were soggy. And I mean, they tasted okay, but they were a little underdone. And it was a disappointing day.
Let's move to our top story this week, which is actually a review. It's the Ryzen 9 9950X3D, and it, along with the 9900X3D, were officially released today. And this is not a paper launch. I'm guessing that if I went to Newegg right now, I could buy both of these parts, which feature AMD's second-gen 3D V-Cache technology as seen on 9800X3D TV. And it is paired, this 3D V-Cache, with a CCD of the plain Zen 5 variety. So if you have $699 or $599 for the lesser part, you can outfit your system with what could be the best of both worlds, which the title of this is The Best of Both Worlds Part 2, which is a Star Trek The Next Generation reference for Episode 1 of Season 4, just in case you weren't aware. Now, let's look at just some CPU performance benchmarks. We'll get to the gaming, what little there is, in a moment, and then we'll look at a real review. In Blender, I ran the latest version, 3-point-something of the Blender benchmark launcher, selected version 4.3.0 of Blender, and I just want you to look at the orange and red bars on this chart. If you're listening to this, I will read them to you because the 9800X3D, Classroom, for example, scores 73.89. The 9950X3D scores 140.17. That's almost exactly double. And it was the same story in Junk Shop and Monster. It scales almost perfectly from the 9800X3D to the 9950X3D. And in between the two is the Core Ultra 9 285K, which I benchmarked just because I haven't featured that in a review yet and had the latest microcode 0x115 planned release 5. And even with faster DDR5 than the AMD systems, and it still lags way behind in just about everything, except for single-threaded Cinebench. So if you run Cinebench, you will love Intel's 285K single-threaded performance, which is a whole 4 points higher than AMD in this test, but it is slower overall. In fact, the best desktop processor that you can buy for a combination of content creation style workloads and gaming is, of course, the 9950X3D. Because even though you don't see the scaling you would expect to see in these 3D Mark tests, possibly because I was testing inaccurately or my system had not yet been configured properly, once the core parking was working, there was the expected performance. In Cyberpunk, the 9800X3D is still a little bit faster at 1080 high. But once you go up to 1440, which is what I hope you're running if you're buying a $700 processor and pairing it with a $1,600 plus RTX 4090, which of course is more like $3,000 when you can even find them, there's virtually no difference between the two. They're almost exactly tied, although the 9950X3D actually had slightly better 1% lows. So it's complicated. I mean, look at these. The setup is complicated, but there's stuff that's supposed to be happening behind the scenes. They're provisioning packages service, the 3D V-Cache performance optimizer, the application compatibility database, which optimizes these processors for specific game titles. So it's all this stuff that's running in the background. You'll see a whole bunch of extra processes just to make sure that this will park the cores and just use 8 when you're gaming.
What if it's AI powered? What if they inject AI powered core parking?
Well, that'll use the other 8 cores.
Look at this. This is the start of the benchmark run right here. And you see the droop as it shifts.
Yeah, I'm 52 years old. I see the droop every day.
Oh, okay. And then here is when the benchmark ended. It's a 65-second benchmark run, the canned benchmark inside of Cyberpunk that I used for this test right here. But yeah, we're seeing high clock speeds from X3D cores, and we're seeing much lower clock speeds because they're not being used, the other cores. So anyway, everything seemed to be working properly once I finally got everything configured correctly and waited until Game Bar had updated itself. But I was pleased to see that Gamers Nexus has a print version of their video review, and a very tired-looking Steve went through the numbers that they got through, although he admitted they're all tired. There's been so many launches lately. They didn't do as many tests as they normally do, but it was still way more than I did. And if you look through his results, go to gamersnexus.com, or I'm sorry, .net, gamersnexus.net, and you can see all the stuff that's also in their video. In many cases, the 9950 X3D is just behind the 9800 X3D, and it is a monster in multi-threaded workloads. It's a modern-day Threadripper, and I don't know if any Threadripper can match the performance of 16 Zen 5 cores, honestly.
No, an Epic, perhaps. But
yeah, absolutely, an Epic, yes. But
the Threadrippers are gone.
Yeah. Look at this, an F1 24 at 1080 high, the 9950 X3D is actually almost 1 frame per second faster than the 9800 X3D. But they trade blows at the top of the charts, basically. It's usually just behind the 8-core variants. And other people didn't seem to have as many difficulties as I did in getting this all set up. And I think
are you saying that Steve's going to come visit you in your basement next week?
I hope so, because then he could show me, the exact methodology required to get the core parking set up.
Totally effortless. Just do this.
And then you got to get the lint roll out because that hair problem. And
I don't think he has a hair problem. It's like those commercials with that. What was that Pittsburgh Steeler guy who did all the commercials?
Troy Polamalu.
Yeah. I feel like he's to Troy Polamalu level at this point. He could do commercials for shampoo. Moving on to the next news story. Have no fear. More graphics cards are almost here. Allegedly, the RTX 5060 series could be announced as soon as you listening to this podcast. It may have already happened. It says NVIDIA has just briefed the media. I didn't get the memo, but okay.
Whoa.
On the upcoming 5060 series, confirming 2 models, the 5060 Ti and 5060. We've been seeing rumors about these. There's rumored specs. We have alleged CUDA core counts, memory configurations. It's still GDDR7 allegedly, but it's only 8 gigs in the 5060. Didn't you learn from all of the disgusted YouTubers last time around NVIDIA? Come on.
No, because they did the same thing with the TI as well.
Are we going to have to resort to memory compression or something? How do you even play modern games? There's so many games that exceed 8 gigs, so it doesn't make any sense. I guess it's like for 1080p gaming. What an amazing 1080p card this will be, I'm sure. And the reviews will be absolutely...
the 5050.
That's because NVIDIA believes that if you have a 1440p monitor, you should be on a 70 series card at least.
Yeah. And the funny thing about it is the 70 series card is already a 60 series card. So it's like a best of both worlds, really. With AMD, you have it from the 9950 X3D. And with NVIDIA, you can buy a 5070 and actually get a 5060 Ti. And then you can buy a 5060 and get a 5050.
I've had some friends talking to me about, like, what GPU should I get next? What 50 series? I go, what you're going to want to do is you're going to find yourself a nice 40 series GPU.
Right.
Try and find that.
Can you find one?
Good luck, kid.
Is that like finding a nice girl at church?
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
Kind of know.
The amazing thing is there are 30 series cards selling for ridiculous amounts on eBay still.
Yeah, you just can't buy a damn GPU.
They slot right in. They slot right into the.
Hey, you can pick up a 3060 12 gig for $289.
Really? Okay, that's the one.
They're still selling them.
Let's go to newegg.com live here on the PC Perspective podcast.
I'm probably lying.
Let's do it.
But
Let's do it.
I saw it 2 weeks
up
ago.
GeForce. We're not going to do anything but that. Just search GeForce and see what happens. We're going to get some laptops.
It's an old TV show.
Oh, it took us to a landing page. Come on, guys.
Oh, what, MSI.
Hey, you can buy a 4070 for $579.99.
That's almost a good price.
Oh, look at that. A 4068 gig from Gigabyte. It just doesn't get any better than this.
Oh, yeah.
There's everything going for that card.
Oh, a low profile. Think of the possibilities. yourself a
Well,
small
PNY
form
for
factor.
320.
I actually dig
Hey,
those
those are
low
fun.
profile cards.
I like low profile cards. They're so
It's a
useful.
triple fan. It's a triple fan low pro card. Very
So
impressive.
yeah, not a whole lot of options here. I should have searched differently. I'll waste everyone's time some more
Oh yes,
by
let's.
going to computer components and looking at graphics cards this way. And then I will sort it by GPU manufacturer.
Oh,
And then we'll look only.
God.
That XTX was expensive. Holy crap.
Yeah, that was insane.
Let's look at in stock only. And sold by
Newegg, yeah.
only. So we've got a 5070 in stock right now as we podcast. Recently launched this card, just $739.99. And that is still cheaper than a 4090, guys. They also have a 3050 low profile in stock for just $189.99.
That's actually
GT
not
1030.
gracious.
Oh, a GT 1030. Yes, Josh. For just $73, get yourself a card with possibly 10-year-old technology. Maybe more.
But yeah,
Possibly.
It was released 9 years ago.
The GeForce GT 710, a classic, just $48.
Oh,
yeah, there's
my
nothing.
gosh, I have
There's
one.
Hey, you don't
nothing
need
here.
a power cable.
That's 710.
for that.
Yeah, no power cables needed.
So the only option is either to get lucky, join the shuffle, buy something in a bundle, or pay way too much on eBay if you're lucky enough to have some local computer store and maybe they have a couple on the shelf. There is another, Luke. It's
I feel like the deal has been altered, and we're praying they do not alter it further.
No, we know they will.
there is another. Actually, Yoda said that to Obi-Wan. He didn't say it to Luke. And it's called Micro Center. Now, Micro Center is only in the United States, and it's only in 19 of the 50 states. There are certain states that have like 3 of them. Texas has 3. I think Ohio has 3. But most states have none, and a few states have 1. So, and they only do in-store sales for stuff like this because they don't want to go out of business, so they rely on attachment sales. So you come into their store, and they're throwing stuff at you left and right. They've got recommendations, discounts for bundling all over the place. So they're all about those attachment sales. Mm-hmm. And I don't blame them. They don't want to become the next Pine Factory, for example.
I was thinking Best Buy, but sure.
Yeah. So
Hey,
here we
they've
got
got
Micro
great racing
Center.
gear there, Micro Center. So,
.com.
you know,
They really
Yeah.
do.
I have
Yeah.
still yet to journey to the one in Charlotte, but I've heard it's a really good store, and I'm looking forward to going there at some point soon.
are you saying you have not darkened their door?
I have not. Yeah,
So-
the last time I drove that direction, I went to I went far north of there to Durham.
So the Micro Center in Michigan has one RX 9070, and it's inside of a power spec gaming PC for $2,400. I don't think they have any RTX 50 series cards at all. Let's look at
That
the
tower's
RTX.
also got a 9800 X3D in it, which
Oh, that's hey, just buy the tower. Really, we've reached that point again. You just need to
Yep.
buy a pre-built PC. Put away your pride. I know as a DIY enthusiast, you would die before you ever bought a pre-built. But you know what? It just makes sense. And just harvest the parts you need and give the rest away to a friend or put them on eBay.
I don't see any that are
I'm seeing
in
all sold
stock.
out. It says 0 items in stock at Madison Heights, included. Okay, so these are all out of stock. So there are no graphics cards. None of this stuff exists. These are not technically
We are
paper
just a
launches.
fever
I'm sure
dream.
They sold a few hundred, probably.
Micro Center
Okay,
had
I
most of
actually-
them. That's what I was referring to earlier. Is that Microsoft had Micro Center. Micro Center had seemingly
were
most of the
reports.
stock of the AMD GPUs to be had.
At first, yes, and for a couple of days, and
Yes.
then it dwindled, and then by about the third, fourth day, it was just like one model of the 9070, and it was $650 or something, and now that's gone.
There's
too.
Josh grasping.
Look at Irvine, says Toilet Bug. We could look at Micro Center in every state and spend the rest of the podcast doing it, but my
yeah, well,
Let's not do that.
point is,
But
can't buy it online.
just to give you an idea of some of the numbers, Overclockers UK had over 5,000 cards that they shipped out in one day. They had over 5,000 in stock. That's all of, it's the major supplier in England. But still, at one supplier, that's a fairly significant chunk of cards. And Micro Center, they were anywhere from 600 to 1,200 to 1,300 cards per location. And like the one in California, there were 600 plus people lined up, if not more. Mm-hmm. And everybody got a card. But
you get a card, and you get a card.
Sold out now.
You get a card.
Yeah.
It didn't sell out.
So it was not a
minutes.
paper launch.
It sold out. No, it wasn't a paper launch. They sold thousands of cards, and now they're all gone. So we're waiting on TSMC, and we're waiting on board partners.
Josh, I saw your comment on Twitter.
Go ahead.
Where you thought that perhaps months ago, when clearly we're seeing the results of orders, chip orders, and production that was placed months ago.
Conservative,
and you surmised that perhaps were they aggressive or were they conservative? In your opinion, they were conservative.
I think that they were conservative. I mean, they built up their stock for the past month and a half, almost 2 months, and they turned out to be, it probably worldwide, I would guess 30,000 cards, maybe more, but that's double. It's more than what in AMD is. Not sorry, gosh darn it.
Intel.
I just started
NVIDIA, Matrox.
Yeah, no, NVIDIA. So it's as many NVIDIA 5000 series cards that they sold in essentially 3 days than NVIDIA did in months. But yeah, it's hard to say because the latest processes take 24 weeks to complete. It used to be back in the day, you would get 5, 6, 8 week process work done. So, we're thinking back to 3DFX, NVIDIA. You could actually hot lot these things and get them back in 2 weeks. That is not the reality that we live in anymore. And I don't know if you're familiar with the idea of hot lot. Basically what it is you get a handful of wafers that they don't wait around. Every time they finish a tool, they go to the next one. There's no waiting. If you know anything about process technology, a lot of these wafers are just in storage and waiting around for the next tool to get open for that next lot to go through and be processed through. And when you hot lot it, then your big wafer carrier skips to the front of the line on every machine. And so hot lotting is still, from what I understand, 8 to 10 weeks. I mean, and it costs a lot of money to do hot lotting, and very, very, very few companies do it unless it's an emergency because it's big, big, big money. Back then, in 1998, when I kind of talked to these guys about it, a wafer was $2,000 to $3,000 for cutting edge stuff, and a hot lot was $10,000 to $20,000 depending on the process node. So you can see how those economics kind of scale. It takes 6 months to finish a chip from when you ordered it. And if you look at 6 months ago where the industry was, where AMD probably thought they were, and we saw finally, in December, January, that they were starting to really readjust their strategy, because at that point they knew what NVIDIA was doing, what kind of chip shipments they were getting, because they all share the same manufacturer. They know what lots are getting out, which ones are kind of assigned to. You talk to people on the floor, you talk to other engineers at TSMC. It's a leaky business. People know stuff about your competitors because everybody talks. And we could kind of see what AMD was doing in that, hey, we're going to delay this because, one, we know that NVIDIA is not going to ship many chips. Two, maybe we underestimated the demand for these things. So let's adjust our prices, then talk to our partners, kind of get them on board, because AMD is going to owe them some rebates because of the 550, 599 areas that they kind of shipped them at. Because if you look at like the XFX card that Jeremy has now, the cooling itself is probably easily $100 to $120. Just that it's got a vapor chamber. It's got like 8 serious heat pipes, lots of fins, magnetic
mine are detachable,
fans,
so I can't
all
throw
those
them
things.
around like cornholes and get them back in. But
Yeah, did you like the magnetic fans?
it looked fancy, but I didn't spring the extra $150 for them.
You didn't pop them out and pop them and just throw them back in.
Oh, no, this isn't the magnetic version.
I thought the
I thought
Mercury
it was.
I guess that's an optional thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is, yes, the Mercury Class Pro Gaming.
Well, there's 2 SKUs. You're right. It's confusing on their website. There's 2
yes,
SKUs.
and then there's a magnetic one. And
Okay.
up here, that was an extra $150. And I was like, that's neat, but sorry.
Yeah, but anyway,
How
long
often
story
do you have a
short,
GPU fan? You don't see a
But it's the
GPU
same
fan
cooling
fail all
apart
that
from the fans, Josh.
yeah. But long story short is we don't know how many wafers AMD ordered. They didn't know that they were probably going to have a runaway success on their hands 6 months ago.
No, because they didn't know that NVIDIA was going to be this bad. They didn't
Well, it's
know that
gonna be 8
NVIDIA was
months.
going to be this cheap
8 or 9 months.
or as bad. Because everybody was taken by surprise when Jensen announced pricing. And that's why we have the rebates. That's why we had the 2-month launch delay from AMD.
Yep.
And that's why we had them working on drivers and features and really also negotiating rebates with their partners because this is a partner-only launch. And it was just, oh, crap. Now we've got to try to figure out how to respond. But they have a winner. They finally... It's like ARC. It's like when ARC came and it was going to be the savior of us all during mining the last time. And then they took forever to release it and the drivers weren't complete and it was just such a mess.
You were supposed to balance the red and the green.
Right.
Yeah. So we're not going to see good amounts of these cards probably till about 4 months because that was, around that time they could adjust and their wafer orders and hopefully get a lot more of these chips in. GPUs, as far as I know, their margins are still lower than what AMD is doing on CPUs. And so each of those, small CPU dies are just absolutely tiny. It's the IO that is big on those. And they use them at a bigger, cheaper process. Yeah. And they're still selling a ton of Epics. The MI300 series is selling really well. So yeah, I think all gamers are kind of getting the short shrift from everybody. Intel did not make as many orders for their B580 B580, and we don't even know if a B770 exists yet in physical form.
In theory,
so yeah,
it's there somewhere.
There's a green test PCB somewhere on Earth. Probably.
Yes,
somewhere. So yeah, it's keep your ear to the ground, keep your eyes out. You may get one in the next couple of weeks if you're, hey, if you want to buy a new power supply, great.
Yes.
Newegg's going to bundle you one.
And they're not bundling them with exploding power supplies this time. They're power supplies
not like the Gigabyte ones. No,
seem reputable this time. So just do it and give your power supply away to someone who needs it. Or sell it, which is what everyone else is going to do.
Well, okay. Think about how old your power supply is, because mine is an Antec that was from. Let me think about it. 2012.
If your power supply
13.
You have exceeded the 10-year warranty.
If your power supply is old enough to drink legally in the United States, it's time to replace it.
If you're still using a PC power and cooling power supply,
but those are so well made. Come on, they probably
they might still be going.
Fine.
Yes,
I miss them.
No,
does
they cost you, but they were
Antec
worth
still make PSUs? I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing other than cases.
Yes, Antec still produces PSUs. There you go.
Yeah.
Bye.
We don't know
Sparkle doesn't
for sure how many cards AMD did in fact sell. We were speculating earlier and looking at the sources that are available. Let's go to the source, Mind Factory, and see the exact Dang it. That's not real. That was just an image I found on Google image search just now.
Womp womp.
Mind Factory does exist. It's just possibly not going to exist.
It's going through changes.
Next story. Let's talk about more 60 series GPUs because those are hot right now. AMD will probably have an answer to the 5060 and 5060 Ti. It'll be the 9060 and 9060 XT. Allegedly, details have surfaced about this more mainstream, read 1080p, gaming solution with less VRAM, of course, and lower power requirements, though not that much lower if they're saying a 500 watt power supply recommended. But that's lower than their recommendation for the 7600 XT, sorry.
They're chasing price. They have to go 8 gig.
I guess.
Yeah.
8 gigs of GDDR6 in 2025.
Yep.
And it'll still be out of stock everywhere.
True.
Because they just don't make enough GPUs anymore to go around.
Hey, there are people out there playing League of Legends and Counter-Strike and Valorant. They don't need big cards.
Let's talk about the death of the PC gaming industry again, shall we?
You know, so my best friend at work had been, he's not the best saver of money on his own. So he had actually been giving me money paycheck to paycheck until he had enough to build a gaming PC. And then at Christmas, his mom got him an Xbox, the newest Xbox, whichever model that is. And I gave him all his cash back, and he has been gaming and having a ball. And the thing is, if he'd gotten me enough together, what could I have built him? You can't get anything.
It's true.
You could get him an Xbox and you an Xbox.
Exactly.
You could have charged him 20%.
You could have gotten a keyboard for the Xbox.
The Series X, which I can't find anywhere in stock with the disk drive, but the digital edition of the Series X, the latest Xbox, it's like $450 or something. It's not a bad, it's like a lower mid-range PC. It's not bad at all. And it comes with a controller. It's so easy to set up and enjoy and subscribe to their service and download all the games you want and pay one low monthly price. And I think a lot of people do that. And it's less than the cost of a graphics card for a complete solution that plugs into your TV. And there's the whole keyboard and mouse crowd who would never even consider gaming on a console. But they're just PCs. They're AMD powered PCs that
not only that, but they're an absolute amazing media center.
That's true.
They've got every app
since the beginning.
Yeah, they have every app you want: ESPN, Netflix, HBO Max, all the things.
They're a far better set-top box than anything else this side of an NVIDIA Shield because they don't have horrible laggy performance.
Yeah, and then their video output is impeccable.
And much better than that broken Chromecast you have right now.
And the funniest thing to me about all of that is that, so here we have my friend, and then I have a nephew who has multiple doctorates and is a programmer for Waymo. He can buy any components he wants, and he builds himself a new gaming PC every couple of years. So he's got, 4090 and I think a 7800X 3D. What they are both playing Marvel Rivals. So you've got the Xbox playing Marvel Rivals and the high-end gaming PC playing Marvel Rivals. They're playing the same game.
Yeah,
and both probably enjoying it equally as much.
Moving on to the next story, Intel finally, officially has a new CEO. We don't have the
and it's not who we thought it would be
anymore.
Who did we think it was going to be?
We wanted MJ, I think. Like MJ would have been brilliant. But no, we got Lip-Bu Tan.
No, this guy's legit. A lot of people are pretty excited about him. He's been one of the big pushers of VC money throughout Silicon Valley, that he's propped up all kinds of companies that have kind of come to the fore. So he's got a good nose for it. And
For propping up failing companies, you say?
Ooh, stop.
no, not just failing, but others. But he was on the Intel board for a while, and he stepped down. But yeah, he's apparently he has a pretty good feeling. Not quite, went up to the ranks, engineer type guy, but pretty close. Has a good understanding of a lot of the technicalities of building chips, and a lot of people are kind of optimistic, especially in the company, that he can keep going where Pat was going, but he also appeals to a lot of the folks who are more shareholder oriented, because he's had good return on investment in previous companies that he has worked with and propped up. So yeah, there is some optimism there. He might be a good guy. I don't know. We'll see.
And if not, well, he can be replaced again.
Everybody can be replaced. Yeah. Just ask Sebastian.
So it's another AMD Radeon generation, a new architecture, and another cry for undervolting has gone out.
Yeah, I haven't tried this yet.
Use those offsets, lower those millivolts, and you can see the
clock speeds go up. It doesn't make any sense.
Isn't it crazy?
Less
it did
less
this
heat,
before.
more speed. Less heat, more speed.
More speed.
Yeah, so 3.3 gigahertz allegedly with a minus 170 millivolt setting. Der Bauer has been overclocking by undervolting with a Power Color RX 9070 XT Red Devil. So
because this thing's happy at 3.1 without touching it at all.
Yeah, think of the possibilities, Jeremy. Undervolt.
That's almost 10%.
Undervolt until it's unstable, and then undervolt some more to make it stable again.
Undervolt until it's starving to death.
Right. It's not going to hurt
if
it.
I behave better, you'll feed me, right?
Start off with 0.01 volts and just go from there. I'm getting 8 gigahertz.
The results were surprisingly good,
We're going to pause here for a word from this week's podcast sponsor.
We talk quite a bit about privacy here, and we all know about the lurking dangers of a data breach and identity theft. Unfortunately, that job gets a bit easier for scammers, spammers, con artists, and marketers because they're using the services of massive data brokers which exist online. These brokers have databases with your personal information like names, addresses, and even your online activities. They will harvest and sell your data all around the internet, which unfortunately includes various bad actors. You have now lost control of all your personal data and could be at the risk of identity theft, mail and email spamming, and data leaks via system breaches. To prevent your information from getting away from you, we invite you to take a look at this protective service from Incogni. You have the right to safeguard your own data, and you can empower Incogni to reach out to these data brokers on your behalf to get your personal data removed. Let them deal with the difficulties, hassles, and objections. Incogni will continue to protect your data by staying on top of these brokers to repeatedly request removals as they recollect your information. Yes, that actually happens. Incogni even supports a family and friends plan to spread the benefits around. Get control of your data privacy and visit Incogni.com. Sign up and enjoy a 30-day money-back guarantee to ensure you're completely satisfied with our service. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Use code PCPerspective at Incogni.com/PCPerspective. That's code PCPerspective at Incogni.com/PCPerspective.
Welcome to Insecurity Corner, your weekly reason to drink.
And our first story comes, of course, from Bleeping Computer. As I try to center the screen again. Our first story comes from Bleeping Computer. Microsoft patches Windows kernel 0-day, exploited since 2023. Nice, Microsoft. Way to be on top of things.
It's a year old. It just pretty much had its first birthday. And it goes after, operating systems no one is running, like Windows Server 2012 release candidate 2, or Windows 8.1, which, you really shouldn't be running, but there are so many Server 2012s out there that are still going. And just for bonus points, ESET, the company that figured this out, Windows Server 2016 and older Windows 10. Remember the old classic 1809 build? Still vulnerable to this free after use memory
Use after free,
issue.
but yes.
Or use after free, which gives just your random public or shared account system privileges. Not admin, system privileges.
Which
So
is
you can
convenient
do just
for exfiltrating a lot of private company data and whatever records are on
anything.
that server. Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yes.
sorry. I didn't mean to trigger the side
No,
by side.
I'm
mode.
sorry. I didn't have the 2-up window, but it's fixed now. So please
No,
continue.
you should have.
Thank you.
Sorry.
This was discovered way back in 2022, I understand, Jeremy.
Yeah, and they gave it a different name. I can't remember what it was, but essentially it was just sort of, oh, don't worry, it's
Pipe
not
magic.
really a thing.
It was pipe magic.
It's a little concerning, but we're gonna think about it. And so it sort of escalated very quickly, and it hit for this Patch Tuesday, which for those of you paying attention was yesterday. It's been unpatched for this long, and there are a string of CVEs attached to this whole thing because it is just not something that should have been ignored and left. But the problem is that sometimes when, there's hardly anyone exploiting it, it's not a huge attack surface. We'll just leave it alone until someone really complains. Turned into something that is horrifically probably present on an obnoxious amount of systems right now.
For example, there are a number of federal agencies that were ordered to patch this damn thing by April 1st.
April Fools.
U.S. federal
Yes.
agencies. Canadian
that was-
agencies are to remain exploitable, I understand. So.
No, Bleeping Computer is a little bit skewed towards reporting on the American agencies, but no, I'm sure that there, across the globe, there are a bunch of people very, very, I love it, very, very upset and are forcing, it's like, well, no, we can't reboot. This is the middle of tax season.
Mm-hmm.
How are we supposed to have downtime when people are desperately trying to file taxes? Well, it's either that or
remain vulnerable.
Maybe they
and
don't
everybody's
realize that data
gets
got
exfiltrated.
exfiltrated. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, this is not great, and it's been around for so long that it's been exploited.
Of course.
And it's still being exploited right now because there are a bunch of people who are not allowed to shut down because it's a Wednesday.
And speaking of We Told You So.
Next up from Tom's Guide, thousands of TP-Link routers have been infected by a botnet to spread malware. This stuff.
It's sad.
It's
like we told you. Get away from the TP-Link thing.
I like their switches because they're too dumb to be infected. The routers they won't touch.
Maybe, but if you own a TP-Link Archer AX21, you need to unplug it and just throw it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, that is the only way to kind of stop this thing. So it's remote code execution. They basically own your gateway, your NAT, can do traffic inspection, and they can do remote exploiting inside of your NATed network.
Well,
it's all the bad things at once.
Welcome to the Mirai botnet. Thank you for contributing. Because that's what you are doing right now. If you are running this thing.
AX21 owner.
I mean, honestly, I think that I don't know how many that were sold, but they're talking about 8,000 that were infected.
Mm.
I don't think they sold 600,000 of them. I think we're talking about a large percentage of these that were sold are now, happily spreading Mirai malware attacks.
Yep.
And they're thanking you for your participation.
I want to say that I think TP-Link may actually have a patch for this. So before you yeet it out the window, maybe patch it. See if it takes. If not, you probably want some different hardware.
There is a firmware update.
Okay.
But you've got to go out and get it.
Yeah.
Because, you don't want your router automatically updating and rebooting in the middle of
Well, it's probably not allowed
do you?
to, since it's under control by a botnet right now. So
Yeah.
take it offline. Maybe there's
You
like
might
a
wanna
way
do
to
that.
flash it with a USB stick or something. Who knows?
There might be.
Yeah, I don't know about
Check
that.
it out. Microsoft says malvertising campaign impacted 1 million PCs.
You know how
But it's
GitHub
not their
was
fault.
bought by
not their fault.
Microsoft? And now Microsoft is saying that, hey, just because we own GitHub and took it over and dumped all of the people that were monitoring all the repos to make sure that no one was spreading horrifically horrible things, well, it's not our fault that that's what they're using it for now. And yeah, so in this case, and it's the double denial because, oh, well, if you hadn't been watching streaming websites that were showing, content you should have been paying for, and then clicked on one of those links while you were watching that video, you probably should have been paying someone for. Well, that's how you got to this infected repo and installed whatever horrific thing there was, because it's a smorgasbord of malware. It's not just one type of malware. It is a whole bunch of GitHub repositories that are just installing horrific things on your systems. But don't worry, it's not Microsoft's fault, even though they own it and are completely and totally responsible for every repository lying on GitHub right at this exact moment.
I think you mean poisoned repositories in this case. But I do want to point out that the tagline that I've used on, unfortunately, a rather large number of podcasts recently, like 2 in the last month, but basically this, again, boils down to stop infecting yourself. You have to click on you're out watching, in this case, malvertising, and it's overlaid on a variety of things. This is an example is videos. You're clicking on links. You're installing software. You're agreeing to the install.
Hey, maybe my Flash player is out of date. I'll click here to update it.
Yeah.
I mean, of course it is. Or down your Adobe Acrobat. Maybe that's more topical. Your Acrobat is out of date. Click here.
Well, that's just
Sounds
a virus
benign.
to begin with.
It kind of is, but a lot of people are like, "Oh, that sounds reasonable." Flash.
Yes.
I finally realized, that's finally percolated down to the people. That's not a thing anymore.
This is optimized for QuickTime. Can you please go here to download the latest?
Okay. Not much of a thing anymore. But anyway, the point is that it takes human intervention, and it's unfortunately the barrier is very permeable here.
Yes, and we're talking millions of devices, and much like I don't want to get political here, but vaccines. If you can prevent yourself being infected, you don't infect anyone else. If you're the idiot that gets infected, you are going to spread the infection around.
And that's part of this as well.
Just be careful on the web. It is mostly horrific.
Almost every malware is related to user behavior, yes.
Right. But again, I think, Jeremy, part of the story is that Microsoft feels very little responsibility for continuing to serve these poisoned repos. And as far as I know, they're still up.
Yes.
And there's the problem right there.
As far as I know, Microsoft is still control. They're on 90% of PCs in the world. So,
I guess they control both ends of this.
Yeah. They're kind of...
Maybe they're looking at each other going, does this count as an software install when they download this? Do we get money for this?
By the way, Doc for the win, mentioning Real Player. Oh, God, that was awful.
Now, we're kind of...
is out of date.
We're always hard on Microsoft on this show, but...
Adobe Air
actually put an Apple story, and he said this story right here, which you can clearly read, is a problem with Apple. Just pause the video here. You can read about Apple's big problem, and we're going to move on to the next story. Okay, fine. I'll zoom in a little bit. Something about a 0-day. It's extremely sophisticated, so it's really not Apple's fault.
All right, this wasn't the one I was thinking of. This wasn't the one I was thinking of, Jeremy. But yeah, this is.
Oh, you were thinking of the other one. No, I was thinking of this one because it is a shotgun now.
It is.
This used to be a sniper rifle going after specific individuals and organizations, which has now been gone out into just general dastardly people's ammunition, and now they're shotgunning it. And essentially, it's any relatively modern iOS. If you've got an Apple in your pocket, it's probably vulnerable unless you updated today. If you haven't, you probably want to update today.
You should probably update because you're potentially leaking things.
You know that whole invulnerable web sandbox that Apple has that has never been penetrated before in the last day or two?
I don't think
it
anyone
got
has
penetrated
said
again.
that exactly.
No. Yeah. Enough about penetration. Let's talk about games. It's time for Gaming Quick Hit, because there's only one. Battlefield 6 features revealed by leaked Battlefield Labs footage. Classes, spawn select camera, and destruction shown in pre-alpha gameplay.
No more specialists. Back to the good old 1942. Engineers, medics, assault, and recon. It's as it should be. We don't know if we've got our proper gameplay modes back, but there's a lot of things about this that look like they're the old Battlefield. The one thing they didn't show was a server browser, and I really, really do hope it goes back in game. I hate to have to drop completely out of the game to try and get in a different game to go back into the game to then game the game I wanted to game that I had to get out of the game to be able to find the game in the first place. And yes, EA, that was about as much sense as it made. So yeah, it's looking a little bit old school with all of the destructibility, because one of the videos was just a tank taking giant chunks out of a building by driving through it. So, hey, let's hope that this brings back a bunch of the fun that seems to have disappeared from Battlefield over the last couple of years.
More than a couple.
Yeah. And bonus points to EA for forgetting about the Streisand effect and desperately trying to tear down all of these leaked videos from the internet and realizing that you can't do that. It don't work.
Don't do that.
So they
Look
gave
up
up.
the Streisand
Battlefield
effect.
5 wasn't horrible.
No, it wasn't.
The last one I ever played a lot of was BF3.
Yeah, that was fun. Then they reset
BF2
the
was
numbering
the
and I don't know. I'm torn between 1942 and BF2.
Oh yeah, but then you
that's
had
probably
the Italian campaign in 1942, and then the special weapons one. They were all great.
But I think it might be nostalgia.
Those,
It's mostly 1942.
No.
BF2
I
was
remember
actually
when
fun.
that demo came out. It was one map.
Oh man,
And for 6 months, we played that nonstop because the gameplay was so
it
hilarious.
was amazing.
You put the mines on top of the Jeep. You ran the Jeep through gates. Everything blew up. It was just you got on the wings of airplanes and somehow balanced there and shot. No, it was fantastic. It was the best multiplayer demo I ever played. Ever.
Yes.
Still.
No, hands down. And my God, you could drive tanks in places they really did not belong.
No.
If you knew how to do it. So yes, hopefully Battlefield 6 will bring back some of that joy.
I played an endless amount of Desert Combat, the mod on BF 1942.
Yep.
Loved that game. Loved that mod.
That was a great game.
The mod
Desert
Forgotten
Combat.
Hope was our favorite because they actually changed a lot of the tank's armor and ballistics and whatnot to more match what actual World War II stuff was. So, yeah, Forgotten Hope was fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, it was fun being an engineer in that.
You know what else is fun? Picks of the week.
Oh,
And
yes.
Josh is going to get us started this time.
It's really that time again. Okay, there are some specials going on for the Ryzen 7 9700X. It was down to like 287 yesterday. Now it's kind of up to like 307, depending on where you get it from. Oh, 3059. That's not horrible. If you want a pretty good gaming processor for not, $500, which is what a 9800X 3D will get you, this is a pretty good one. And it's a 65-watt product. But in the BIOS, you can change it to 105. So it boosts higher, longer, and gives you better performance. It's not X3D. Don't expect that. However, everything else, it's going to do really, really, really well. And it's nice that they gave it a big price drop. Much needed.
Jeremy, do you have a pick
Yes.
this week?
Well, I mean, I just recently replaced a video card, which meant that, I had to clean out the various cat dander and cigarette smoke that resides inside of my case, and realized that, one of my fans is very, very unhappy, and another one is dead. So I need new fans, because they're maglevs, so you can't really just grease them up and make them go again. And lo and behold, I found a nice little sale up here on the brand new Be Quiet Pure Wing 3s, which I have not heard anything bad about. These are apparently darlings for air coolers and to stick in a radiator. So I'm going to pick some of these up and replace the sad old Be Quiets that are in the Be Quiet case that I bought years and years ago. I know it's not exciting, but hey, if I'm not spending 20 or 30 bucks a fan, that is actually kind of nice.
It's a good price.
On a good...
Jeremy, I thought that pick was pretty cool. I'm a fan of that
Thank
pick.
you.
But I'll be quiet now. Because it's Brett's turn. What is your pick this week?
My pick is, when you think of the best 100 computer-oriented podcasts in the world, you better put us on that list.
Of course.
We're
we should
at-
be number one, right? I mean,
You'd think, but apparently, I'm not sure the rating factors that they're using, but we do actually appear in this list of the top 100 best
Oh, this is fake
computer-oriented
news.
podcasts. There
No
we
way.
are at number
Ah!
30.
I don't believe it.
It is actually true.
episode's
30.
224. That's
Well,
incomplete.
Oh,
This
okay.
was-
it was put out on February 27th of 2025. So, I mean, it's about almost a month old at this point. So we're probably climbing. This is basically us climbing the
My
ranks.
God, how many podcasts did we do in the last month?
Almost 600.
Almost 600.
No wonder I'm so tired.
If you want to listen to a podcast that is at least 1% better than the 9 to 5 Mac happy hour, try
Yep.
the PC Perspective podcast.
That is correct, essentially. Although, if you scroll up, you might think, see some other ones and go like, that's better than ours. The Full Nerd.
The Full Nerd.
Arguable.
Yeah, okay. That's
okay.
good. Power Scripting
Couple here
podcast.
you might know. Here
Okay.
you might know.
Sure.
Computer Tech Radio. I've never heard of that one. As you get into PC Pro podcast, you get Windows
Windows Weekly,
Apple Insider,
Twit,
Yep,
Mac Weekly, of
Power.
course. So yeah,
Break and
but I mean, you really should,
You start
I
to-
think, separate the Apple podcast from the PC podcast, because if you take away
we would shoot
fawning
up that
over
list.
Google, fawning over Apple, and then there's our podcast, which is just complaining about everything. We're basically cranky geeks, but with a slightly younger cast. If you remember John C. Dvorak's Cranky Geeks,
Yeah.
on what was it? What was that? What was that network called? Something 3. I don't remember.
I don't know, but if you
G4TV?
take
yeah,
if you take some of those
G4TV,
away, I think we're really, in that top 10, really solidly in that top 10 mix of the, PC oriented podcasts. That covers the breadth of the things that we cover, not narrowly focused like some of those other shows.
There were some outstanding episodes of Cranky Geeks back in the day. I used to watch that one every week. That was a long time ago now. It's on Internet Archive, though. Search it up. Cranky Geeks. Produced by Ziff Davis Media. DL.TV. Okay. I thought it was
But the
something
interesting
else.
The interesting thing to note is there are 70 podcasts behind us.
Ah. Now, I am honored to be on this list, Brett. I'm sure we all are. I think
we all are.
If we are somehow, with the suspect quality of this show, the 30th best
Go on.
computer podcast
Go on.
in the world, just
Go on.
imagine where we could be if we actually put some effort into this.
Oh my gosh.
had a pre-production meeting,
list.
perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Collaborated more.
Smoothed over the rough spots. Yeah,
Well, that happens
collaboration.
in editing, but yes.
Right, exactly. Got the list of what topics we're ready to talk about 40 minutes before the show.
Hey, I didn't remember necessarily that it was Wednesday today, so give me a break. All right, Kent, your pick this week.
I had a lot of options today. Initially I was thinking, that we finally got a good product out in the 9950X 3D. I looked earlier today, and late this afternoon, there were still 9950X 3Ds available on Newegg. They're gone now.
Oh.
9800X 3D is still there, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But, then I thought about how much I, as someone who suffers a sleep disorder, hates daylight savings time changes. And twice a year, it screws up my life. And so I thought about a link to a petition to end it. And I didn't trust any of the links I could find. So just call your congressman if it bothers you. So I, like Jeremy, struggled. And at the last minute, I found some fans at a good price. These are Arctic P14 Maxes. These are the 140 millimeter. These will go up to 2,800 RPMs. They are excellent on a radiator. They are great for airflow. And up until you get to about 1,800 RPMs, they're actually pretty decently quiet. And you can get 5 of them for $43. Under $10 a fan for a good quality fan. So,
Now I might have to change my mind as to what I'm buying tomorrow.
Well. But what would that be in Canadian dollars? That's probably at least $250 a fan.
$642.
Yeah. Yes, $70,000.
$79
after tariffs.
$80 no sale on.
I'm going to pick 2 things. Sometimes Brett does this. I'm just going to do it.
I do.
First, it's been almost exactly 4 years to the day. I bought this, according to my Amazon history, on March 9, 2021. And it still blows. After all these years, this Miko compressed air, high pressure air duster blower, computer cleaner, keyboard for cleaning dust, hairs, crumbs for computer, laptop, tower fans, printer, replaces compressed air cans, which is just $40 on Amazon right now. And I've never used any of the attachments. I'm reminded yet again that it came with a little bag of these strange little attachments. But
do you ever change it from blow to suck?
No, I never have. I don't know if there is a function to do that.
There is. There's a combination you need to know to be able to do it.
Okay. So anyway,
it's the same combination as your luggage, I expect.
I use this today. I use it every week. I've used it for 4 years. It still works. So I recommend it. But I also have another pick, which is not pulled up anymore. Dang it. Let's go to Logitech. Now, it's not the MX500, which is a mouse that I used to have. I want to tell you a story about Logitech mice. They last for so long. They work for so long that my MX500, which I recently rediscovered in my storage unit when I was clearing that out prior to exiting it, it still worked. But the plastic had all melted. All the soft touch plastic was sticky goo. Mm-hmm. So I finally threw it away. But I've had that since 2002, I think, possibly early 2003. Logitech mice are just built different, as the kids say. And I recently purchased a new Logitech mouse for the first time in 20 years. And it was the Logitech something or other. MX. Hold on, let me actually pull it up here. It was the Logitech MX Master 3S. And this mouse is divine. Now, if you're right-handed, I'm sorry if you're left-handed, because it's one of those non-ambidextrous designs. It's got this place to put your thumb. Anyways. It's just buttery smooth. The scroll wheel feels really nice. I have high hopes for it lasting 20 years. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But it's, it's a modern wireless mouse and has Bluetooth, and I'm using the little USB thing, so I don't have to use Bluetooth. And it's great. I like the way it feels. I like using this mouse. It has one of those weird features where it kind of has like a clutch. It has a sort of clutch for the scroll wheel. So if you start scrolling really fast, it disengages that tactile resistance and it just freewheels. And you can just zoom down to the bottom of a page, and then you'll feel like a little haptic click as it re-engages the
So
clutch again.
When it freewheels, do you get your lighter and raise it up and light it?
That's when the guitar.
No, that's
solo
free bass,
starts
Josh.
Yeah.
No, that's free bird. That's free bird.
Okay. He's thinking of music festivals, certain music festivals, but you can scroll at 1,000 lines per second. Same. Thanks to this special feature, which I can't remember what they call it. Let's explore key features here. Feel it, but barely hear it with quiet clicks. The clicks are still audible. I don't know what they're talking about. They're audible and I like it. They're just soft. It says, mag speed electromagnetic scrolling is precise enough to stop on a pixel and quick enough to scroll 1,000 lines per second. Oh, and it's nearly silent. The wheel's machined steel gives it a premium tactility and enough weight to offer a dynamic inertia you feel but don't hear. And if you like the sounds of that ad copy, you'll love this $100 mouse. Which I didn't pay that. I don't remember what it was. It was on sale for either $10 or $20 off or something when I bought mine.
I wonder what Micro Center is selling it for.
$1. They're selling it for $1, and you get a free 32 gigabyte kit of DDR5
and a power supply.
Yeah, and access to all the latest and greatest graphics cards that are sold out everywhere online.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the PC Perspective Podcast. Thank you for listening, watching. If you're one of our elite YouTube viewers you're like a 2,500 to 3,000 person strong consortium who watches the finished version every week. And I appreciate you, and I sometimes respond to comments as well. But for all the rest of you who keep this thing going, for all of our patrons, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
For those on the audio only, I'm giving 2 thumbs up.
Two
thumbs
thumbs
up. No. Those aren't your thumbs. Please.
2.
Oh,
please put those down.
Up.
I don't know what he was thinking.
Was a mutant as a child.
2 of them.